I now hand the conference over to Mr. Jitendra Shi from Axis Securities. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Lizanne. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Axis Capital, I am pleased to welcome you all for the Indian Energy Exchange Q2 FY22 earnings conference call. We have with us the management team of IEX, which is represented by Mr. Satyanarayan Goel, Chairman and Managing Director, Mr. Vineet Harlalka, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Rohit Bajaj, Head Business Development, and Ms. Aparna Garg, Lead Investor Relations. Now we will begin with the opening remarks from the management, followed by an interactive Q&A session. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon, friends. I am Satyanarayan Goel from IEX. I welcome you all to the Q2 FY22 earnings call. Present with me today are Mr. Vineet Harlalka, our CFO and Company Secretary, Mr. Rohit Bajaj, Head Business Development, Mr. Amit Kumar, Head Market Operation, Mr. Sang Gautam, CTO, Mr. Samir Prakash, who is Head HR, Ms. Kriti Bhatia, Head Market Communication, Mr. Indranil, looking after new initiatives, and Mr. Jogendra Behera, who is heading the Regulatory Affairs System Division. We seem to have almost overcome the COVID-19 pandemic. There has been a significant uptick in the pace of vaccination. Yesterday, we achieved a landmark figure of 100 billion vaccination in the country. I think it is 100 crore. The economy, industry, and retail activities are resuming fast. There has been a fair resurgence in economic activities, leading to rapid increase in the demand for power. Recently, the exchange power market has been seeing constraints on supply side, and we all are reading about the media articles regarding high prices and limitation on the sell side liquidity on the exchange. It is important to understand the fundamentals behind all these news articles. In H1 this year, there was 14% increase in the power consumption in the country with respect to last year. Monsoon affected the domestic coal production and supply. There is increase in the price of imported coal. The prevailing price of $120 per ton for 4,200 GCV coal is almost 5 times more than what it was 1 year back, $25 per ton. And at $125 per ton, the variable cost will be almost about 9 to 10 rupees. In case of LNG also, there has been very, very high price increase, almost 10 times. Now the LNG prices are almost about $30 per MMBTU, and about a year back it was just about $3 per MMBTU. With $30 per MMBTU, the variable cost will be more than 25 rupees. So with generation on imported coal and LNG has reduced significantly, and as a result of that, there is more pressure on the domestic coal. And this phenomenon is not only in India. Countries across the globe also have been experiencing similar situations, leading to an unparalleled increase in the price of energy and power, as well as a rise in price of other commodities. Government of India has already undertaken several initiatives to ease the situation, including an increase in domestic production of coal, increased coal supply to the power plants, blending of 10% imported coal with domestic coal, and restarting some of the imported based power plants. More recently, with these initiatives by the government and the widespread rains which reduce electricity demand in the country, the prices on the exchange have started to come down. And today it is almost about 1/3 of what it was a week back. The exchange market continues to work uninterrupted, facilitating the distribution utilities and industries in addressing the increased power demand in the most flexible, competitive, transparent, and efficient manner. I will now talk about recent developments at IEX. On 17th October 2021, IEX received CERC approval to commence the screen-day-ahead contract as a part of the integrated day-ahead market. Under the integrated day-ahead market, the exchange will allow the market participants to submit bids together with conventional bids as we were doing in the DAM market. And thereafter, the clearance will take place in the sequential manner. Renewable energy bids will be cleared first in accordance with the must-run status of the renewable, followed by conventional segments. IEX will also allow its market participants an option to transfer the unselected bids from the renewable to the conventional segment. Furthering our customer-centric initiatives, we have launched value-added services VAS for the renewable energy generators. The renewable energy generators who are keen to avail the services such as generation forecasting, qualified coordinating agency services, and analytics solutions, etc., can reach out to the best-in-class service providers and paneled by the IEX at a very competitive price. We have already onboarded Climate Connect as our first empaneled service provider. We look forward to welcoming other service providers who are keen to associate with us in this journey. Let me now share with you an overall economic and industry update. After reaching a manufacturing PMI of 48.1 in June 2021, India's manufacturing activities expanded for the third straight month in September to 53.7, highlighting a strong expansion in overall business conditions. Even on the services side, we witnessed an increase in activities leading to expansion of services PMI to 55.2 in September 2021 as compared to 41.2 in June 2021. On power sector front, the rise in economic activities led to an increase in overall power demand. The All India electricity consumption increased 10% year-on-year from 334 BU in Q2 of FY21 to 366 BU in Q2 of FY22. In this quarter, highest ever peak demand of 205 gigawatt was registered in the month of July. It was July or August? July, yeah. The industrial states such as Gujarat, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu were the key contributors of this growth. As of September 2021, the installed power capacity at 389 gigawatt saw 4.2% year-on-year growth. The renewable energy capacity reached 101.5 gigawatt from an earlier figure of 89.2 gigawatt in the fiscal year 2020, seeing about 13.8% year-on-year growth. The fast-paced growth in renewable capacity underlines the energy shift that has been underway and an increased impetus on building a decarbonized and sustainable energy economy. On the policy and regulatory front, the 10-year long pending jurisdictional conflict related to power market between CERC and SEBI has been finally resolved by the Honorable Supreme Court, paving way for introduction of the much awaited long duration contracts on power exchanges and electricity derivatives on the commodity exchanges. CERC has issued draft deviation settlement mechanism, and under this, now the DSM charges are to be linked on the block-wise price discovered on the exchange. This will further expand and deepen the real-time market. MBED is expected to go live through exchanges from 1st April 2022 with interstate generation capacity as per the press release issued by Ministry of Power. The Ministry of Power issued the draft rules for promoting renewable energy through open access, allowing consumers with contracted demand load of 100 kilowatt and above as eligible for green energy open access. All these initiatives will lead to further deepening of power market in the country. The Indian Gas Exchange has been seeing an uptick in volumes as well as participation. During the quarter, Indian Gas Exchange traded almost about 10 lakh MMBTU of gas, and cumulative so far, IGX has traded more than 15 lakh MMBTU of gas. Good thing is, we are seeing business on gas exchange increasing every month. And in the second quarter of FY22, we did highest volume of almost about 8 lakh MMBTU. As part of our customer-centric initiatives, in the IGX, we launched the day-ahead contract also very recently. Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, via its office memorandum dated 19th August 2021, has provided an additional mechanism to domestic gas producers who have been granted pricing and marketing freedom to trade on gas exchanges. Accordingly, the domestic gas producers may sell quantity of gas up to 500 MMCM or 10% of the annual production, whichever is higher, to the gas exchanges. And I'm sure this notification will provide availability of cheaper gas on the exchange platform and will further deepen this gas market on the IGX platform. On a standalone basis, revenue for the quarter increased by 52.6% from 79.4 crore in quarter 2 of FY21 to 121 crore in quarter 2 of FY22. Profit after tax grew by 67.3% on year-to-year basis with a margin of 64.5%. The Board of Directors has considered issuing 2 bonus shares for each equity share. During the quarter, electricity volumes on the exchange grew by 58% on year-to-year basis with 25.9 BU volume traded versus 16.5 BU in quarter 2 of FY21. During the first half of FY22, IEX traded a volume of 47.2 BU, which is almost about 6.7% of the total generation in the country, implying a robust growth of 50.6% on year-to-year basis. The growth in volume was driven by substantial increase in electricity consumption as well as preference by the distribution utilities to meet their short-term supply requirements in a competitive and flexible manner through the IEX. The real-time market continued to be one of the fastest growing market segments on the exchange, witnessing a growth of 125% on year-to-year basis. And during this quarter, 5.3 billion units of volume was traded in the RTM market. RTM contributed almost 20% of the overall volume which we traded on the exchange platform. The consistent growth of real-time market is an indication of growing reliance of the distribution utilities and industries to achieve power supply balancing in the real-time market in the most efficient manner. The green term-ahead market is also now almost 1 year old. We started this on 21st of August, and so far we have cumulatively achieved a volume of 3.5 BU in this market. And in the second quarter of FY22, the cumulative trade was 1.7 BU. This market has seen a considerable increase in the participant base, and more number of utilities and C&I consumers are participating in this market to meet their energy demand and also the RP obligation. We are gearing forward. We are gearing towards the launch of ESCert and integrated day-ahead market. And what I understand now that these 2 markets will start from 26th of October this month. Honorable Minister is going to launch the ESCert market today, and the GDAM market will be launched on Monday, and trading will start from 26th October. And we are also now gearing up for launching the long duration contract. We have already filed our petition with CERC. REC hearings were held on 21st of October, and I think the last hearing is going to happen on 28th October, and thereafter order is expected in the month of November. Later this year, we may also see introduction of exchange-based ancillary markets. In the backdrop of several initiatives I have touched upon today, combined with several policy and regulatory enablers, the power markets will have a much greater role to play. Besides, there is a huge opportunity on the gas front. Coupled with diversification initiatives which we are assessing, we are very bullish on the growth prospects of the company. With India's power consumption expected to grow at 8 to 9% during FY 2022, we expect a significant growth for the exchange market. We are continuously innovating, strengthening and advancing our technology initiatives. We believe that energy markets have a pivotal role to play in transforming India's energy economy, and we are committed to play a proactive role in facilitating the much needed efficiency, competitiveness and sustainability in the energy ecosystem. Thank you everyone, and now we can start the question and answer session.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin with the question and answer session. Anyone wishing to ask a question may please press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Mohit Kumar from DAM Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir, and congratulations on a very, very excellent quarter. Sir, 2 questions. The first is a market-based economic dispatch, which the government wants to implement from 1st April 2022. The related question is whether it is feasible, given the timeline, to adhere to 1st April 2022. And secondly, how does it changes business for us? Do you think this long-term volume will increase at the expense of short-term volume? And the second question is, where are we in the process of launching long-duration contract, and what kind of products you are likely to begin with? Thank you.
Yeah. First on MBID, Government of India has already issued a press release and which indicates that the MBID should be implemented from 1st of April. It also indicates that before this, CERC will align the regulations and mock drill will be carried out to ensure that the system runs smoothly. So CERC will first have to align the regulations, and that is the important thing to be done. As far as we are concerned, we are ready to launch it. We have done all necessary developments, and we are working with CERC also to start this as soon as possible. On long duration contracts, we have already filed our petition with CERC. Now, after resolution of this dispute, I am sure CERC will take up the petition for approval, and once the petition is approved, then we will launch these contracts also. These contracts are basically for fortnightly, monthly, quarterly and yearly contracts for duration less than 1 year.
Thank you.
Hope that clarifies your question.
The line for the current participant has dropped off. We'll move on to the next question. That is on the line of Devansh Nagotia from SIMPL. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir, thanks for the opportunity. Sir, regarding MBID, if you can help us understand what do you believe are the challenges in terms of implementation, because prima facie it looks like a lot of changes have to be made right from the generator to DISCOM and even for PFC and REC to actually fund the DISCOM for this whole process. So what is our overall view in terms of the bottlenecks which are currently there?
Yeah, as I have always said that implementation of MBID is as complicated as implementation of GST.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of things to be done, but once government directions are in place, I am sure everybody will act fast on this to ensure implementation by 1st of April. And I would not like to comment anything beyond that.
Okay. And in case of long duration contracts, since you're saying that you're expecting the order in November, so then after the orders come, how prepared are we in terms of launching the product?
We have done all technological developments for that. We are ready to launch these contracts. So the day we get the approval, based on the approval, if there is some minor changes are to be done, we will do that, and I think within 15 days we will be able to launch the contracts after CERC approval.
Okay. And in case of day-ahead market, I mean, we have in last 1.5, 2 years, we have seen that prices on the exchange have been very high, they have been very low. But the shift from bilateral to day-ahead market seems to be consistent every quarter or on a monthly basis. So structurally, what has changed in last 1.5, 2 years over here? Because when we look at previous 8 to 10 years, that shift has not really happened with this pace. So what are the things that have really changed in last 1.5 years?
Yeah, the shift is a gradual process. It was happening earlier also. If you see share of the bilateral transactions, they were slowly going down. But in the last 1.5 years, the shift has happened at a much faster rate now. And one of the reasons is that during the COVID time, nobody was sure about what kind of demand will happen, what kind of demand increase will happen. So they did not get into any bilateral contracts. And when the demand started increasing, they started their participation on the exchange platform. And good thing is that there was a lot of liquidity in the exchange. They got power at a competitive rate. And that led to, the confidence building. And now they are more comfortable in purchasing power through the exchange. I'll tell you a couple of cases. Telangana, their demand increases from July up to March. And every year they used to buy power under the bilateral market. And in some of the years, because of the heavy rain, the demand used to crash. They used to back down, take less power under the bilateral contract. There used to be contractual complications in that. And last year, they did not buy anything under the bilateral market. They bought from the exchange platform. And that led to significant saving by them. And now they are comfortable. This year again, they are not getting into the bilateral contracts. So I think same is the case with many of the distribution companies. And that is why the shift is accelerated now.
Okay. And in case of RTM...
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Nagotia.
Yes. I'll
May
get
we
back.
request that you return to the question queue? There are participants waiting for their turn.
Thanks.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to ensure that the management is able to address questions from all participants in this conference, we request you to limit your questions to 2 per participant only. The next question is from the line of Rahul Modi from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. Sir, can you explain how will be the the payment security mechanism for the long duration contracts? Whether it will be LCs or how will it be on a revolving basis?
Now, for the long duration contracts also, we will accept LCs also, but then we will ensure that the payments are made before the delivery. We get the payments before the delivery of the power.
On a daily basis?
Yeah, on daily basis.
Contract can be counterparty?
Contract can be for a month or for a quarter. But the payment should happen on daily basis. Because if we ask payment in advance for the full month, it is going to be too large amount. So we will ensure payments on daily basis.
And if in case there are missed out payments, then you have the power to regulate. Who has the authority to regulate?
We have the authority to regulate. It's a part of the contract.
Okay. And sir, who is the counterparty in this? Are we part of the counterparty?
Yes. Exchange is always, in all cases, a counterparty to all the transactions.
Okay. So if in case there is a situation where party A is buying 100 megawatts and party B, due to some issues, not able to sell that 100 and is selling 90, that 10, whose liability will it be?
There is a DSM mechanism for all such events. If party A is to sell 100 megawatt, they are selling 90 megawatt, they will have to pay DSM for 10 megawatt.
Okay. So if nothing comes on to us.
No. I mean, we have designed the contract in such a manner that exchange, there is no obligation on exchange.
Okay, that's great. So secondly, sir, obviously with your experience in the power market, so what exactly in the last 2 months, what we've kind of seen was quite unprecedented in terms of, pricing going high. We saw obviously governments also changing stand. First, they had encouraged people to move out of older contracts, but then suddenly, seeing the prices at 20 and a disruption in the generation market, they advised that we should again come back to old, PPAs and revisit. So, from a outsider standpoint, how do we look at it? Because now that you rightfully mentioned that there was a big cost saving in the last 2 years when a state like Telangana purchased X amount of units through the short-term market to meet the long-term demands which are there for years to come and will be years to come. The suppliers are obviously limited in the system, and they know that if a particular demand is coming, then obviously there can be a big play in the market that can happen, okay, which may not reflect truly on the demand-supply dynamics, which happened in the last 2 months, where we saw prices going up to $20, where a lot of discoms also played into the market and selling power on the exchange at more than $15. How do we balance that, sir, as a system? Is my question to you.
Let us not go to the knee-jerk reaction to this situation. This kind of price increase, this time it is quite high, mainly because of the very high increase in the imported coal price and very high increase in the LNG price. So as a result of that, almost about 15 to 20,000 megawatt of capacity is not available. So there is a lot of pressure on the domestic coal, and domestic coal ramp-up cannot happen, at a rate of 10-15%. And particularly during the monsoon season, we have open cast mines, and these mines are also get flooding, so coal production also gets affected. And this is not that this is happening for the first time. If you see 2018 also, in the month of October, there was price increase. So after monsoon, in the month of September, October, when the weather is also hot and humid, agricultural load is there at peak, price increase happens. But then right from the month of November, you will see every year the price starts going down. And you will see now also the prices prices are down. In the last 6-7 days, the price is hovering around 5 rupees, 6 rupees, around this number. And in November, I'm sure the prices will be down to less than 4 rupees again. So it does not mean that if the prices have increased for a month, then you will start getting into the long-term contracts.
Sir, I take your point. My only question was that, what has happened is that a lot of capacities have become redundant in the system, because if you are not buying, capacities under contracts, then you are not incentivized enough to run them. If you are not running them, then obviously there will be a supply crunch in the medium to long term. And if that is the case, then obviously the prices may sustainably be high than what we've seen today.
I think the kind of demand increase which is happening in the country, all that capacities which is standard today, I am sure that will be put to use. And market prices will give a signal for the new capacity addition.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kunal Thanvi from Banyan Tree Advisors. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity and congratulations on a good set of numbers. So broadly, I had two things. First was again on the ambit. We understand, Ministry of Power has come out with one draft, and also they've come out with a deadline of 1st April of 2022. Wanted to understand, in the draft they have talked about, possible, reduction in the charges that an exchange would charge to DISCOM and the generators, because, there is a comparison between the global markets, wherein the power exchanges globally have a very lower charge compared to what we charge in India. Wanted to understand, in the global market, is that, there are some other charges apart from the transaction charges that they charge, which, if at all there is a price cut for us, we can also charge. That is question number one. question number 2 was on the long duration, contracts. Like, of course, the expectation has been that the bilateral market, large part of bilateral market could come on, long duration contracts. Like, do we also feel that some part of, long-term power demand can also come on the LDC? And also, any color on our fee arrangement with MCX, if you can give.
The arrangement with?
Fee arrangement with MCX.
MCX, okay. As far as MBED is concerned, I think charges, etc., what you are referring was there in the discussion paper. But then this is under the domain of CERC. They will have to decide about the detailed procedure and if issues, if any, regarding the transaction charge. So, as and when CERC takes up this matter, we will see. We will discuss with them, and it will be as per the CERC order. Implementation of MBED, that also will be dependent on realigning of regulations by CERC. A lot of work is to be done in that area. We are, as far as we are concerned, we are ready, and we are working with CERC to ensure that it is implemented from 1st of April, because as far as we are concerned, we see a lot of opportunities if MBED gets implemented from 1st of April. Long duration contracts, as I told you, we have already filed our petition with CERC. We are waiting approval from CERC. As and when we get the approval, we launch these long duration contracts. Initially, we are definitely looking for diverting bilateral transactions on the exchange platform. So that shift may happen gradually, but definitely it is going to happen. With MCX is going to launch derivatives, electricity derivatives, and for settlement of the derivatives, you need a reference price. And they intend to use our price. So for using our price, we have an agreement with them.
Sure. So that's what, can you throw some light on the fee arrangement that we would have with them?
We already have agreement with them. They will be using our reference price, and we will be getting some revenue share out of the revenue which they get from electricity derivatives.
Sure. And just one follow-up on, the price thing. So globally, have you seen, exchanges where they charge for other value-added services also apart from the transaction charges? And is there any scope that we can also, going ahead, say, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, charge for the value-added services that we intend to give to the participants?
There is no standard system of charging fees and annual fees and membership fees for different exchanges. Everybody charges depending on the conditions prevailing in their country. So, and we also have started charging it based on the conditions which are prevailing in India. I don't think
sure, got it.
Make any international benchmark with respect to these things. They charge us.
Sure, got it. Thanks. I'll get back in the queue. Thanks a lot for.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Swarna Maheshwari from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Hello sir. Good afternoon. Congratulations for a very good set of numbers. Sir, just 2 questions. First, I just wanted to understand your thoughts over here. So first is it possible to implement MBED without price coupling, as it kind of defeats the purpose of single pricing in MBED versus you would have multiple prices on few exchanges?
It is possible to implement MBED without price coupling, and that is what government release also says, that even in the discussion paper which was released by government, that also said that phase 1 of the MBED will be implemented without price coupling.
All right.
Today
okay.
Also, if you see, 99% of the transactions in collective market are happening on the exchange platform. So it's a single price. What is the problem? In case of MBED also the same phenomenon will take place.
So I think the whole point is when you actually go for MBED, you are going from 100 to 400 billion units. I think your ROEs will be like about 4x from here. And we don't see any entity actually making those supernormal profits. So with a highly regulated framework. So that was the point, the reason to ask that question really.
I think the regulator is there. They will take care of all these things.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Correct.
Super normal profits or anything.
Yeah. No, I understand, sir. Correct. Sir, the second thing is,
What is the profit which you are making? 200 crore rupees. What is the profit which NSE is making? Do you think that SEBI should start regulating the profit?
right.
Look at the value which we are providing. You should be more concerned about that.
Right. Got it, sir. Sir, secondly, now we will be moving from the mechanism of SEB scheduling to the exchange, and this would incur some additional costs with respect to our brokerage. Now, of course, the overall saving cost that was envisaged on implementation of MBED is about 3 to 4%. But should MBED get implemented on the exchanges, about 1.5 to 2% might be actually eaten up by the brokerage. So, do you think that there is a possibility that in future the transaction fees might actually start coming down? Otherwise, this actually defeats the purpose of MBED again.
Again, I told you, the regulator will have to take a view on this. They will have to see what kind of values customers will be able to get by implementing MBED, what kind of savings will this happen, what is the job which will have to be done by the exchanges, what kind of fees is to be given to them. I think we have a regulator, and they will look into all these things.
Okay, sir. Got it. Thank you so much.
Purpose of MBED is not only 5% or 10% reduction in the cost. Purpose of MBED is also to schedule the power in the most optimum manner, utilization of resources in the most efficient manner, and also going forward, integration of renewable with the conventional power in efficient manner. So, objective function is quite large. Let us not limit that to 5% cost saving.
Sir, the discussion paper actually said that of course one of the objectives is to achieve those cost savings. But you did mention the other point, and I well taken that, sir, that you need to schedule the power efficiently when you have renewable also coming into picture. So I will take your point, sir, over there. Correct. Right, sir. Got it. Thank you so much, and I'll get back in future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Hkin from JK Capital Management. Please go ahead.
Hi. Am I audible?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, sure. So my question is on your one of the slides. I think it's slide number 32 or something. 32, I think. You're talking about the total capacity likely to phase out by March 2027, which is 41 gigawatts. That gives you additional 100 BU opportunity for the exchange. Right now, with 9,000 MU per month, your current volumes are around 100 BU per annum. So it is like this additional opportunity is doubling your market. But what is this market exactly?
Are you referring to the investor presentation?
Yeah, in your investor presentation, slide number 32, phasing out of plants. Total capacity likely to phase out by March 2027 is 41 gigawatts. Incremental 100 BU opportunity for the exchange. So your current volume is 100 BU per annum. And this you're saying is an additional 100 BU. So what is this exactly?
Yeah. See, today we have power plants having generating unit having capacities of 60 megawatt, 100 megawatt, 150, 200 megawatt. These units are inefficient units consuming more coal for generating 1 unit of electricity. And these units are also quite old. They are also not meeting the environmental standards in many of the cases. So Government of India has decided to phase out these old units. And the capacity is around 35 to 40 gigawatt. At 80% utilization level, these units should generate something about 300 billion units. But since these units are old, these units presently are generating about 100 to 150 billion units. So if these units are phased out, then there is an opportunity of, because they are today generating and supplying their power to distribution companies. If they are phased out, then that power will come to the market. That demand should come to the market. So that is the opportunity size. Out of this, how much we will be able to get on the exchange platform, that will not work out with time.
Okay, understood. And one more question on the follow-up side. You have in slide number 33, you are talking about the second bullet where the government is going to deepen the power markets by increasing the spot market to 25% by the year 2023-24. This 25% spot market, what exactly is this? Because right now 87% is the PPE, and remaining 13% you have bilateral, then you have the exchange, and then you have the deviation settlement mechanism. So this 25% is the exchange, which is now like 6.5 to 7%, which is your market share. What are they trying to do? Is it like because some of the numbers I want to understand from a bird's eye view. Which one to add and how the long-term PPE is going down from 87% to what percentage? Something like that.
This statement is from draft National Electricity Policy, which was issued by the Government of India recently. This draft policy says that the share of the spot market should be increased to 25% by the year 23-24. They have not defined the spot market in that draft, but spot market invariably is that day-ahead market, the exchange transactions, the short duration exchange transactions, that is a spot market, and which is today 6-7%. So the intent of the government, what we see from this is to increase this 6-7% to 25% in the next 3-4 years. But even going by the short-term market, which is today 12%, increasing that to 25% in the next 2-3 years, 3-4 years, that also is a big multiplier.
No, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm asking. I mean, the short-term market is 12-13%, which going to 25% itself is a great deal. But in this draft, as per this draft, I'm not saying that this is an achievable target or an unachievable target. I'm not commenting on that. But as per this draft, 25% would be the spot market, on top of which you have the bilateral and the deviation settlement mechanism, etc., etc. And bilateral also, you will benefit hugely because of the long duration contract. So net, if we assume the opportunity for the exchange down the line, like 3-4 years down the line, it is like nearly 30%. If you add everything, if you add all the components, as per this proposal.
That is what it should be. If you want to have high renewable capacity in the country, it is necessary that exchange transactions should increase. There should be deepening of market. Then only you will be able to address the variability in the renewable generation. If you look at countries, European countries, where you have high renewable generation capacities, exchange transactions are almost about 50% of the total generation. So in India also, if you want to go with 450 gigawatt of renewable capacity in the country, I think we need to have market size of 30-40%. And I think this statement in the draft National Electricity Policy is also keeping that thing in view.
Okay. So, got it. Okay, understood. Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Aniket Mittal from SBI Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. So the first question is actually on the derivatives market. I mean, like you rightly said, there's a very clear emphasis on increasing the spot market in the country. But with that, there also needs to be some sort of a mechanism in place to hedge the risk that the spot market brings in. And I think it's been about a year now since we've signed the licensing agreement with MCX. MCX also has gone and signed a technology agreement, I think, with EEX. So just to get an understanding, I mean, from a feasibility Nifty perspective, when do you think can we actually launch a derivatives market in India?
Yeah, this electricity derivatives will be launched by the commodity exchanges, and what we understand that MCX has already signed contract approval with SEBI. But if you have seen that joint working group minutes, based on which this litigation has been resolved, one of the recommendation is that there should be a joint working group consisting of representative of SEBI, CRC, Ministry of Power and Ministry of Economic Affairs. This joint working group should decide what kind of contracts should be allowed in the derivative market and what kind of loan duration contracts should be allowed by CRC. So that, it should not have any adverse impact on the spot market of the country. So I think the joint working group meeting is expected shortly. After that, they will have to decide about that, and then thereafter SEBI will give the approval, and then MCX will be able to start these derivative contracts. So I will not be able to say anything about the timeline, but then this is the process, and this process has to happen.
Sure. And just one question on how do you see, let's say, the short-term market panning out in the next 1 year or so? Because traditionally, like you said, we've been here 3 years back in 2018 as well. And at that point in time, that tended to spook off the DISCOMs a bit. So we had back then, some amount of pilot schemes coming up, and a lot of DISCOMs started rushing a bit to actually tie up, certain contracts there, because you can't keep on buying at more than 5 rupees, more than 6 rupees on a daily basis. So I think over the past 1 year, we've gained around 1.5% share from bilateral. Do you think some of that can actually then go towards the bilateral in the coming months?
See, so far, only one pilot project has happened, and that too for 2,000 megawatt. Okay. And the demand is increasing every year at a rate of 7-8% now. If economy has to grow at a rate of 9 to 10%, our demand has to grow at a rate of 8%, 9%. If that has to happen, the demand is going to grow at a rate of 16,000 megawatts per year. So I don't think a pilot of 2,000 megawatts would be really a big concern for us. I mean, this kind of transactions will happen in the market. But there is still a lot of opportunity for the exchange.
Okay. Maybe just, one last question, if I wanted a data point. So if I look at your second quarter volumes, would you tell me who are the top 3 buyers on the exchange for this quarter, and what is their cumulative contribution to your overall volumes?
I can tell you, in fact, participation was there by most of the states, and the states where the demand has increased, like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, all these states were active buyers on the exchange platform. All of them, depending on the demand, they were buying power.
So, would it be possible to quantify that, as in who are the top 3 buyers and their contribution to overall volumes?
No. But I can tell you one thing, that these states, 7-8 states which I told you, the demand increase, significant demand increase has taken place in these states, and they were large buyers on the exchange platform.
Sure. Thank you. That's it from me.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Apurva Bahadur from Investec. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Sir, wanted to understand, basically, I think you mentioned that you're seeing capacity addition should be planned in the system, given that almost 40 odd gigawatts will be retiring, and we are, I think, roughly adding 30 odd gigawatts in terms of new coal capacity. So 2 questions here. Firstly, where do you see this capacity addition happening? So mostly in renewables or in thermal assets? And secondly, in case we are currently, since we are sort of reducing capacity on a net basis, do you see the long-term prices on exchanges going up sustainably?
I understand what is already going on for construction and commissioning of about 40,000 megawatt capacity. 32,000 which is in the state sector and in the center sector. So whatever capacity will be retired, almost same kind of capacity is under construction and commissioning. So there is not going to be any shortfall in the installed capacity. Further, in addition to this, we are also working on the renewable capacity addition. So energy side, I don't see any challenge.
This 20,000 megawatt of merchant capacity also available, where the utilization is extremely low. So we expect as the demand will grow, the utilization of this capacity will also grow. And this is open capacity. They are free to sell anywhere in the market.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it, sir. And secondly, sir, on the, sorry for harping on this again, basically on the embed side of things. Now, essentially, as I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but under the MBED, price discovery won't happen on the exchange. It's essentially the scheduling function. So in such a scenario, and I know you said that regulator will take a call, but what would be a fair sort of a remuneration for the exchange, which will basically just do the scheduling function or just sort of lend its platform and technology for it? See, because from a supplier point,
in case of phase 1 of MBED, exchanges will do what they are doing today. The entire function of bid collection, price discovery, scheduling, financial transaction settlement, and physical settlement will be done by the exchanges.
Okay, so the price discovery will also happen on exchanges.
Yes.
For embed.
Yes.
And won't be based on the variable cost of the asset.
Another phase 1, yes.
And post the phase 1 as an overall at an overall implementation level.
Implementation of phase 1, they will see what are the implications, what kind of benefits country is driving out of that, and what should be done for phase 2. Whether they should launch for phase 2 or not, I think the call on that will be taken after implementation of phase 1.
Okay, got it, sir. And then, sir, in that case, say, for example, in case of phase 1, probably NTPC will sort of become a market maker, given that it will be driving the bulk of the capacity. So what incentives is it there for NTPC to be on IEX? Because what I wanted to know, since NTPC will be the market maker, probably it can drive price discovery on any of the exchanges. So if you could just please elaborate on this and throw some light.
Number 1, if you have seen the paper, it is not NTPC alone. It is talking about interstate generating stations. So when you say interstate generating stations, this is NTPC, NLC, DVC, NIPCO, NSPC, SJVNL, all these companies, plus the private sector companies also, which are interstate generating companies like Adani, Tata, Sasan, and then you have interstate generating stations in the private sector also. So GMR, I mean all these companies.
Right.
So all these plants are interstate generating plants.
Right, sir, but same thing persists, right? I mean, NTPC would obviously have the highest capacity among these, or even if, let's say, 2 or 3 government companies.
Any generator or distribution company will like to participate on an exchange platform which has demonstrated its capability to run this kind of a product. I mean, nobody can take risk with a exchange or a platform which has not proven. I mean, in last 13 years at least we have demonstrated that we are capable of running such a product.
Fair enough.
If you think you are comfortable in going with the other exchange, do you think so?
Right. No, I get your point. Thank you so much. I'll get back in touch with you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Noel from Ashika Group. Please go ahead.
Hello. Yes, actually, just most of my questions have been answered by now, but just one last question. So this is regarding the very high volumes that we have seen in August and September, and so far we are also seeing higher volumes for the month of October. So would it be fair to assume that this higher volumes would persist as in terms of market share gains going forward as well?
Yeah, definitely. That is what we think so.
Okay.
We are aiming for.
Okay. But but there would be some portion of it that would be seasonal in nature because of the various power shortages that were there. So that would be, I think, a minor portion, or that would be like 50-50. I mean, what would be the best way of looking at it?
If you look at our quarterly volumes, invariably quarter 2 is the highest volume, but then quarter 3 and 4 are also reasonably good volumes. Whereas it is not very significant.
So month on month there is good variation, but every quarter you will find some very good months. And all in all, if you see on annual basis, within quarters variation is not very high.
Okay. Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Aman Madresha from Augmenta Research Private Limited. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. So I had one question. Like currently, if you look at the balance sheet, we have around 1,000 crores of cash in investment. So what are we planning to do with this? Are we planning to invest in some other revenues, or are we looking to increase the dividend payout? Like, what is the stance on the cash balance on books?
I'll request my colleague, Mr. Vinit Rawalkar, to respond to this question.
Yeah, thank you. We look at the company has a surplus of the cash flow, but it is mainly because of the trading float and margin, and which is a kind of a liability, is more of a cash surplus. But if you look at the shareholders fund, it will be tune of around 450 crores only. So we are exploring all of the diversification opportunity, and company has been paying a good amount of dividend in the past also. And considering that the company will continue to reward the shareholders with a good dividend also, and company will retain the requisite amount of the cash as required for diversification and looking for the other growth opportunities.
Okay. And sir, I also wanted to understand with MCX derivatives coming into picture, so will there be any effect on the volumes on IEX, or it will be just that MCX would be taking reference prices from IEX? So
can you repeat the question, please?
I was asking, with MCX entering into derivatives contracts for electricity, so can we expect the volumes on IEX to deteriorate, because as we have seen, derivatives often becomes a larger market in each and every segment. So can we expect the volumes to deteriorate, or the volumes would remain same only, or would increase?
Volumes will rather increase, because the derivative contracts are financially settled contracts. And if any delivery has to happen under those contracts, as per the contract, that delivery will happen on the IEX platform. That is number one. Number two, when there are derivatives, there are few market participants who are not participating on the exchange platform because of the price volatility. Now, those participants will have the option of hedging their position in the derivative market and taking delivery in the spot market. So invariably, what we have seen, when you have derivative market, the deepening of the spot market happens. The volume in the spot market increases. And that is why government was also concerned about introducing these derivatives in the market, and government took the initiative of resolving this jurisdictional issue.
So in this derivatives market, the contracts will be settled, right? There will be delivery of electricity. They would not be just financially settled.
So that delivery will happen on the IEX platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sir, I want...
MCX cannot do delivery of power, because delivery of power is regulated by CERC. It has to be done as per the CERC regulations.
Okay.
So as per the contract, any delivery resulting out of the derivative contracts will happen on the IEX platform.
Okay. So, like with the derivatives, can we expect more price fluctuation, because given that there would be derivatives, so there would be price fluctuations on the platforms, like massive volatility or price fluctuations?
Not clear about your question.
So I was asking, with derivatives in picture going forward, can we expect the price volatility in the DAM or TAM markets to increase?
No. Price volatility, in fact, when you have derivatives, there is more stability in the price.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sir, I just wanted to understand more on the IGX front. Like, when can we expect IGX to materially start contributing to the revenues or profitability?
Yeah, as I told you, IEX is doing volume increase. Every month the traded volume is increasing. But because of the high price of gas in the international market, unfortunately the import of gas has reduced, so availability of gas in the market has reduced. So that has impacted our projections. We were expecting in the fourth quarter of this year we should achieve break-even, but maybe it might get shifted by 1 or 2 quarters.
Okay. And sir, can you just give me some data point, like what is the transaction charge on the IGX?
IGX transaction charges are 4 rupees per MMBTU on each side.
Okay, sir. That is helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dipesh Agarwal from UTI AMC. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, gentlemen. My first question is, so when you look at renewables, most of the capacities get built up with 25 years PPA. So do you think the addressable market for exchanges for renewables would be restricted largely for the load balancing, or there would be more volumes coming up out there?
When in 2008, when we started IEX, at that time, almost 100% of the power generation capacity was tied up to the PPA. But then slowly, we started having merchant capacities in the market also. And then the distribution companies, when they have surplus power, they started selling on the exchange platform. Similarly, in the renewable also, we have just started this G10 market. And on 26th of October, we will be starting the G10 market. So I think when we start these products in the market, now the generators will have another option of selling the renewable power. What we have seen in the last 1 year in the G10 market, price discovered on the exchange platform is much, much higher than the price which they are getting under competitive bidding route. So I'm sure there are going to be generators who will set up merchant capacity, and volume in this market will again, slowly start increasing. I'm not expecting that the volume increase in the green market will happen immediately in the next 1 or 2 years. It may take time, but yes.
Understood. And my second question is continuation with an earlier participant's question. Sir, on the price coupling, where are we in terms of regulation? Can you help us understand, is there a clarity from the regulator side whether this will be implemented, and if yes, by when?
From the regulator side, there is no mention about price coupling anywhere. They have said in the regulations also that it will be considered as and when necessary. So I don't think there is any discussion on this. And even in the phase 1 press release given by the Ministry of Power for implementation of phase 1 of MBED, there also they are not talking about price coupling.
Okay.
After implementation of phase 1, then they will see how effective this was. Should they go ahead with the phase 2 or not? I think these are issues which will be subsequently dealt.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next question. That is on the line of Ankush Agarwal from Surge Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Just one quick question. So could you just highlight what would be the reason for someone to trade on the exchange through a power trader like PTC and not directly? And what are we doing to bridge this gap?
Can you repeat the question, please? I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, so what according to you would be the reasons why someone would trade on the power exchange not directly but through a broker like a PTC? Right.
I'm still not clear.
Yeah, so PTC, they has 30-40% of the exchange volumes, right? So a lot of DISCOMs and power generators use PTC to put their bids on the exchange, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what according to you are the reasons why these companies are coming to exchange through PTC and not directly to the exchange?
Number one, the share of PTC on power exchange out of the total transactions, what we do is almost about 20%. It's not 30-40%. It is about 20%. Number two, there are a couple of state distribution companies through PTC, and some of the industrial consumers also are participating through PTC. PTC also has a long-term contract with some of the generators. They are selling their power also through the exchange platform. So these participants have their own reason for participating through PTC. In addition to this, we also have some of other trader members also, like Tata Power Trading Company, Manikaran, etc., who are doing transactions on behalf of some of the clients. And then we have many distribution companies who are directly doing transactions on the exchange platform, who are our proprietary members.
Right. Right. So the reason for asking this question was, since PTC has, say, like, for example, 20% of the volumes, right? And PTC is coming out with its own exchange, and if PTC has 20% of the volumes and they are the decision maker with respect to this 20% of the volume, isn't that a risk that someone would be, like PTC would try to shift this volume to some other exchange?
I'll give you one example.
Yeah.
When you participate, when you purchase shares on Zerodha platform or on ICICI Direct platform, there is an option that you will do purchase from BSE or NSE. Who decides about that? You decide, or that platform decides about it?
No, that's a good analogy, but I'll give you my thoughts here. See, in case traders are only doing these transactions on behalf of the client. For a generator, it is more important to sell that power. If that power is not sold, that opportunity is lost forever. Power is a perishable commodity. So for a generator, it is important to sell the power. Similarly, for a distribution company or industrial consumers, it is important to get the power. If the power is, he has not been able to get the power, industry will have to reduce the production and distribution companies will have to do the load shedding. So these parties will like to do that trade on an exchange platform where they have the comfort that yes, they will be able to sell or purchase the power. So I think it is they who decide about it. Okay, so it is
purchase share on a particular exchange based on the liquidity on that exchange.
Right.
It's a common phenomenon.
Right, right. So what you're saying is the DISCOMs and the consumers, like the DISCOMs and power producers, decide which exchange to place the order on, and it's not PTC who decides it.
Yeah. Definitely.
Right. Got it. And so, secondly, okay, that was all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next question. That is on the line of Jitendra Rishi from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for taking my question. So I've got few bookkeeping questions. So first question is on what was the share of open access volume in the quarter?
This is about 15 to about 20, less than 20%.
Sorry, 20%. Okay.
Less than 20.
And sir, and two more questions on the other expenses. So we have seen a sequential decline in other expenses, and also on the employee costs, which went up sequentially. So what was the reason for decreasing the other expense and increase in employee, and what can be the run rate going forward?
Cost optimization during COVID time. That is one reason. As far as the cost reduction is concerned, I will request my colleague Mr. Vineet Harlalka to respond in detail about it.
During the quarter, the other expenses are mainly because of the CSR office. In the quarter one, there was around 2,000 CSR expense, additional CSR expenses the company incurred, which was not there. Otherwise, all the other costs are more or less same. So that was the only major significant difference in the quarter one and quarter two. And if you compare to the September quarter of the previous year, yes, because of the COVID, a lot of restrictions were there and all the work from home. So that was the one factor, so very limited expenses were there. And on the manpower cost, the increase was mainly because, if you can recall, during the quarter one con call also we clarified. So there was some reversals of the variable proportions amount was there during that quarter. So some provision adjustments were there. So that was one-time impact was visible on that number. But if you look at the overall number, we are in this line only. These are the numbers which are going to continue.
Right. Okay, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next question. That is on the line of Gokul Maheshwari from Auriga Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Sir, in your opening comments, you had mentioned about some changes in the DSM regulations in terms of price benchmarking. Can you help us in terms of understanding in detail how this regulation will help the RTM gain share from DSM over time? Thank you.
Yeah. See, present DSM mechanism is that there is an average price of the day which is taken, and that average price of the day is linked with the frequency. And since frequency is almost constant, hovering between 49.95 to 50.05, so the DSM price is also very close to the average clearing price of the day. But average clearing price is the average price of the day. During evening hours, the price is higher. During morning hours, the price is higher. During the daytime, the price is lower. So what we have seen during the morning evening
आपण ज्या व्यक्तीसोबत बोलत आहात त्या व्यक्तीने आपला कॉल.
Hello.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So what we have seen that when the demand is more, the market clearing price is high, DSM price is lower, and there is a tendency to overdraw. That is why now CERC is linking the DSM price to the block-wise price discovered on the exchange platform. So in the evening hours, when the price discovered from 7 o'clock to 7:15 block, if the price is 8 rupees, then the DSM price also is going to be more than 8 rupees. There is going to be a multiplier on this price. So in the draft, they have indicated 110% of the discovered price, but many of the participants have commented that this price should be higher than this, because then only it will act as a deterrent. So that is how the DSM price is going to be linked with each block, and it is going to be higher than the market clearing price, forcing distribution companies to plan and purchase in the RTM market.
Great. And is this round the corner, in the sense this implementation is going to happen soon?
Pardon?
Is this implementation expected to happen soon, this change in regulation?
Yeah, this is a draft discussion they have issued. They have invited comments. I think comments are also submitted by all the parties. That date is over. So CERC may take up this issue in the month of November, and then thereafter, thereafter the order should come. Hopefully by end of this year or in the month of January, this should get implemented.
Great, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the last question. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Jiten Rushi for his closing comments.
Yeah, thank you everyone for participating in the call. We thank the management for giving us this opportunity. I would now hand over to the management for their closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much for participating in this earnings call. I must say that energy markets have a key role to play in building India as a sustainable energy economy. With the opportunities that lie ahead of us, we are very excited about the prospects of the company, and we had great interaction today, and I look forward to similar interaction in the next quarter also. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Axis Capital Limited, that concludes this conference call. We thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines. Thank you.